Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. We've got a Tuesday afternoon edition, 4 p.m. West Coast, 7 p.m. East Coast. Got Jess here from East Coast Red and Gold Podcast. You may know her on Twitter as @JM41484 and East Coast Red and Gold Podcast on Twitter @ECRG_IESR on Twitter. So, Jess, thanks for joining today. Excited to have you. I think it's your second time being on the show, so thanks for gracing me again. I really appreciate it. And anything you got going on, anything I may have missed in the intro?
Thanks for having me, Ted. Always fun coming on here and talking some 49ers football. Back from vacation, so I'm ready to go. But yeah, we're on East Coast Red and Gold podcast. We're on tomorrow, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And we're just going to talk a little bit of the state of the franchise and just anything else that comes up.
Very cool. And I think we can do kind of the same today. We'll see where the chat leads us. There's obviously some few things swirling around Niners Twitter, despite the fact that there's no practices this week. Always something in the news, it seems like. So fun stuff, keeps us busy. So that's always exciting. Let's see here. As far as chat goes, let's see. We got Ryan for No Border Sports showed up early. It's funny. It says 4:44 p.m. That must have been yesterday. He came on and said, "Are you going to be streaming again?" I think so. I think we'll probably stream again. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Seems that way.
I guess unless I piss her off, we'll see. Bebop Jones says, "Sup, my peoples," coming to us from the Philly area. Thanks, Bebop. Good to see you. Got Jason Niners Smash Massey. Sup, Bebop, and anyone else in the chat. So he's saying hi to everyone else. And hi, Ted and Jess. Thank you. Oh, there's Bryant. Sorry. Thanks, Bryant Culp. Good to see you. Bryant is a huge Jake Moody fan, also a fellow content creator, just past 100 subs. So congratulations there. Here's Jason saying, "How's it, Ted and Jess?" Better now that you're here, Jason. Thanks for joining. We appreciate you being here. Then they're just kind of saying hi to each other. Yeah. So, like I said, a lot of things going on. You were mentioning the State of the Union address. I unfortunately missed it. So, I had heard some things that it was basically they're very optimistic about the way things would go, the way things have been going. Sounded a little bit like kind of not a lot of real new information out of it, if I was not mistaken.
No, I mean, obviously they were very optimistic. They're very excited for the season. The only little nugget I took from that was Greg Papa saying that Trey Lance looks better than ever. But other than that, it was good to hear, like Jed York and Kyle and John, but it was also good to hear, Brian Schneider, the special teams coach. He was telling his Jake Moody story about, just the competition and, what he was doing as far as like, oh, there's 12 seconds left, this is your chance to beat Ohio State, and he went into that whole big thing. And it was pretty cool. And then hearing from Chris Forster and Coach Wilkes, it was pretty good to hear them talk.
So maybe I do need to go back and rewatch it. Sounds like so Michigan did beat Ohio State, right? So that's good. And Moody was the key kick. So that's exciting. Bryant Culp will be excited to hear about that. I don't know if you've seen, but on his overlay, he has Moody at all four corners, various pictures from college and camp and stuff. So he's a huge Moody fanatic and good for him. And as far as Forster goes, it's kind of interesting. Grant Cohn was talking about him not too long ago, and he was saying that he wished that Kyle was more like Forster, who's our offensive line coach, because last year Forster was like, "Hey, Banks, Brendel, Burford, we're going to ride with them till the wheels fall off. These are our guys," and they were rah, get them full of confidence, And now this year, it's like, it's McKivitz. He's our right tackle. We're going to ride with them till the wheels fall off. And Grant was kind of like, why doesn't Kyle do that for Trey Lance, And I was sort of like, yeah.
Why does that matter?
If you show confidence?
No, just like being like a rah-rah guy. Like, why, I mean, just by
Well, I
what
think
Kyle has said about Trey Lance and, Brock Purdy, even the quarterbacks like Sam Darnold, like I believe he shows confidence.
I guess, but I guess he did by naming Trey the starter last year. Um, but as far as making him compete to be Purdy's backup potentially this year, that doesn't seem to say a lot of confidence to me, or it just shows a lot of confidence in Darnold. I guess it depends on how you look at it. But I think when you have a young quarterback, it is important to show confidence because there's so many things that are going to knock a young quarterback's confidence down. You need to do everything you can as a head coach to buoy it back up and keep it, help, because I think that if you believe you can be successful, then you have a better shot at it than if you're telling yourself you can't do it. Part of that is you need to be mentally tough yourself and tell yourself that. But I think it helps if your coach is in your corner too. But that's a good point. It's a good point, Jess.
I believe Kyle is in his corner. Like this team, you hear day in and day out, this team loves competition. So look at the tight end position. I mean, Ted, we both love George Kittle. You have
Absolutely. There's one
you
thing
have
we can agree on.
right, exactly. You have Cameron Latou like behind him. You have Braden Willis, right? You have, that's competition right there, even though we know that George Kittle is obviously, hopefully going to be tight end number one. But this team loves competition. So why not bring competition to every position?
I'm a big believer in competition, but then I think it extends to Purdy as well. I think that, Purdy's coming off a major injury and he has a small sample size anyway. We've never seen Lance with CMC. We've barely seen him with Kittle. All reasons why I think, Purdy and Lance should be in a competition too, along with Darnold. I think whoever's best, great, that's fine. But like, the thing I don't understand with some of the Lance haters is why they're just so deathly afraid of there being a competition. It's like, oh no, has to be Purdy. It has to be Purdy. It's like, look, Purdy's not even cleared to play right now. And once he is cleared to play, he may not be ready to play. There's a couple mental components that go after the physical readiness. There's like the syncing up with targets, getting the timing down and all that, and running through the plays together. And then there's also the mental component of standing in a crowded pocket with giant 300-pound monsters trying to tear you limb from limb. And both of those things could take a little more time beyond just the physical readiness. So I don't know. That's why, to me, I wouldn't mind seeing an open and fair competition for everyone in the QB room.
I agree with that. John Lynch did allude to the fact that, yeah, Purdy is the leader in the clubhouse, but again, there will be competition. It'll be open for all of them. But for me,
that's true. I guess I'm so caught up in what the haters are saying that I'm forgetting that they lie most of the time anyway. So it's like,
that's
yeah,
very
you're
true.
right, Jess. Thank you.
But for me, it's whoever's under center and gives us the best chance to win.
Absolutely.
I like Trey
Lance.
6. Exactly. I like Trey Lance. I like Brock Purdy. And again, who's ever under center, it's definitely, at the end of the day, it's about the logo on the helmet, not the name on the jersey, on the back of the jersey. So
there you go. I don't know if you noticed Bryant Culp. He says Moody Rookie of the Year, but then he's got 4 pineapples. This is in lieu of flames. He now has pineapples as his hot sign. And I think that's kind of an honor of our guy, George Kittle, and his little provocative pineapple video.
Which I loved, by the way. That was such a great video.
I had a feeling you didn't hate that, Jess. Something just told me. I was like, I don't know. I think Jess might like that. I don't know. Crazy. Call me crazy. Real quick, just want to say hi to 187 in the house, saying BBNG for Bang Bang Niner Gang. And then Bryant repeated him for the BBNG. Jason said lots of us missed the State of the Union. It was barely promoted. Last year's years past, it would be heavily promoted. That's kind of interesting. And let me get this just a couple more comments here, and then I want to circle back to the State of the Union. So if I forget, make sure you remind me, Jess.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying hi. They're saying, Jess, let's go. Bryant was saying that. Jimmy Perez in the house saying, what's up, Ted and Jess? Thanks for joining, Jimmy. Appreciate it. Seahawks Eddie, one of the few cool Seahawks fans, along with Joe Stevens. Always welcome here, Seahawks Eddie, at least till the season starts. Then we'll see. And maybe if we end up splitting with the Seahawks, I won't be so friendly, as I sort of predicted that. I thought maybe 5-1 in the division, split with the Seahawks. I think they're looking a lot. I think they're looking a lot better. Brent saying yes, LOL, pineapple fire. Actually, so it could be grilled pineapple. And then saying Seahawks Eddie. So so State of the Union. So we talked about Forrester. How was Steve Wilks? Because I'm pretty excited about Steve Wilks. I feel like he's got a lot of gravitas, having had been a defensive coordinator for a long time, an interim head coach. I feel like he brings a lot of leadership, specifically DB leadership, to this team. And that's an area where we have a lot of youth. Obviously, we have Gibson out there and Charvarius Ward. But like Afanga is young, Lenore's real young, or I guess they're the same class, but they're both real young. We got Ambry Thomas, who's young. Who am I missing? Womack. Even Isaiah Oliver is still only about as old as our Witherspoon, Akello Witherspoon. We're the same class out of CU Boulder, the Buffaloes. But what did you think of Steve Wilkes' talk?
Well, he said that he knew he needed to be here. Kyle had even said, you know what, like we were looking for somebody to not change the defense. So exit Vic Fangio. But, like Steve Wilkes he brought up Isaiah Oliver again and how he's brought it to, OTAs and minicamp. And, he just seems to be like all fired up from just him talking, just what I got from it. So I'm really excited to see what he can do with this defense.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because we said, why do you need a rah-rah guy? And, because clearly that's not Kyle. He is not a rah-rah guy. But Saleh was a rah-rah guy. D'Amico Ryans was a rah-rah guy. And now Steve Wilkes seems like a rah-rah guy. So it's good to have at least one rah-rah guy, there. I'd say on the sideline, but it sounds like Wilkes is going to be up in the booth. But still, in the leadership group, I think it helps to have somebody like that who gets people fired up and motivated, and in that mood to sort of go to war, if you will.
And don't forget about Chris Kasarik.
Yeah, he's pretty fired
definite
up.
Rah-rah guy.
Screaming top of his lungs the whole time.
Right.
Going hoarse. Kasarik's amazing. Excited to see what he'll do with Clelin Ferrell and Austin Bryant. T.Y. McGill, he's already had some work with, but continuing. Kalia Davis. All these youngsters on the D-line. Obviously, Drake Jackson, probably the biggest of all of them, or most important. And then, obviously, Robert Beal out of Georgia, our fifth round defensive end, speed rusher, great first step and great top speed as well, too, for an edge player. So a lot to be excited about for Chris Kasarik and that D-line. Do you think we're finished on the D-line? Do you think we'll pull a trigger on a Yannick Ngakoue or a Justin Houston? Or they're starting to, get signed up, but there's still a few left out there. And we could always trade for one too, like a Chase Young maybe, or Montez Sweat from the Commanders. I think Danielle Hunter is rumored to be trade bait from the Vikings.
Yeah, I don't know what the Vikings are doing.
Yeah, they're like go of Kendricks. They let Zadarius Smith go. Dalvin Cook's on the market. So it's looking like they're going to lose about 4 really big stars. I mean, it sounds like a rebuild to me, other than Justin Jefferson and I guess Cousins, but I mean, he's saying he wants to be out of there next year himself. That's another topic we should probably, that's been coming up over the last week, of course. But yeah, I mean, it seems like kind of a rebuild for the Vikings.
Which is
I guess
shocking because they had didn't they win 13 games last year?
yeah, but I guess a lot of them were one score games, so they probably felt like a lot of those could have been the other way if things hadn't broken well for them. They probably could have ended up at 8 or 9 wins instead pretty easily. So maybe that's what they were thinking. Who knows? Beto in the house says, Ted, this is your 2000 live of the day. Ha ha ha. Hey, no, this is my first live of the day. I had yesterday. I had two. I had Jesse on last night, and I'm blanking on who I had in the morning now. I'll have to go look. But bottom line is, I've been slowing down a little bit here in the off season. That's right. I had Niner Joe on yesterday. Also, it was a great guest. If anybody's looking for a knowledgeable guest, he did a lot of research pre-draft. He was really vocal on one of my shows about D Winters. Sure enough, we drafted D Winters in the 5th round, also with Robert Beal there. But no, I'm slowing down a little. But Beto knows how many shows I do. Well, because we're in a chat group on Twitter, but then also he lets me promote my shows on his Facebook page too. He has a Niner Sickness Facebook page, and he has a pro football page that I promote my more general shows to. So if it's just Niners only, I do it to Niner Sickness. But if it's like maybe like a guest from another team, then I'll promote it on his other channel too. So thank you to all that, Beto. You've been really helpful. Appreciate it. Also, Beto had a great movie recommendation recently. If anybody hasn't seen Flamin' Hot, make sure you check that out. It's a story about a guy who grew up in California, and he's Latino, and family struggling, and he gets a job somehow at Frito-Lay through a friend. And I won't say anything more, but really inspirational show, and highly recommend it for sure. Flamin' Hot.
And also shout out to Beto, who we are co-hosts together on Fridays.
There you go. That's right. And what's the name of that show again?
Niners Now podcast.
Niners Now. And Beto does the really cool overlays too, where it's like, cool graphics, flames, and stuff like that. Stuff much more dynamic than what you see here. So someday I'll upgrade to a Mac, and then maybe I'll try and copy what he does a little bit, because it's really cool stuff. I saying hello to all the faithful in the chat. They're saying hi back. They're saying hi to each other. It says, when you get time. I don't know what that's from. So Sacktown Izzy in the house saying Trey Lance season. I love it, Sacktown. I'm just saying, give Lance a chance. I like Jess was saying, I want the best quarterback possible, and if it turns out that's Purdy, so be it. I just want Lance to have a chance to prove what he can do, since we haven't really seen him with the same weapons. Not only the same weapons that Purdy had, but Purdy came in when Jimmy G was 4-0. Lance is coming in at the beginning of seasons when we're going 3-5, 3-4. The team's struggling in general, so you can't just pin it on Lance. Jimmy G struggled too during that time, so I'd like to see what Lance can do when the team's doing better. Although, week 1, not exactly the easiest time to come in and have a start for whoever it is, because it's going to be in Pittsburgh. And I think they're like 15-1 or 14-2 in their last 16 openers. So, like, while we're the slow starting team in the NFL, they're probably the fastest starting team, and they got TJ Watt back. They got Highsmith on the other side. One of those guys every down pretty much is going to be going up against McKivitz in his first ever start at right tackle. So that's a concern, beyond everything else. But love to get your thoughts on that, Jess.
Yeah, they're actually 15-1. And a game that I will actually be at. So the Niners better win.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, it's the Steelers had a good offseason. When you turn on Sirius XM NFL radio, that's pretty much all you hear now is how the Steelers are great and the wonderful offseason they had. But you speak about Colton McKivitz, and he has started before. So it
Yes, he
wouldn't
started
be
at guard and he started at left tackle. He started guard in 2020 and he started at left tackle in 2022. Well, actually, let's see. 2021, week 18 Rams, he started left tackle so that we would make the playoffs. And then in 2022, he played week 4 left tackle because Trent Williams had gone down prior to that.
right.
But then he sprained his MCL against the Rams in that game. So he didn't last long. That's my concern with him is injuries and run blocking. I think he's probably a better pass blocker than McGlinchey. But the run blocking, I think, leaves a little bit desired, especially like getting into the second level. McGlinchey was so athletic. Hard to beat that. But yeah, no, I mean, he's certainly not a rookie or anything like that. It's just, I think it'll be his first time starting right tackle as a pro. I think he might have played
Okay.
right tackle at West Virginia, in fact. I think that's what we drafted. When we drafted him, that was his position, I believe. So it's not like he's never played, just not against, TJ Watt and Alonzo Highsmith, who are two of the better defensive ends in the league. I'd say TJ Watt's top 3 or 4 with Bosa, and Highsmith is probably top 10, if not better than that. So, everybody's saying hi. Bebop Jones is saying congrats on 400. Thanks, Bebop. Yeah, I hit
Awesome.
400 subscribers yesterday. So thanks to everyone who's helped me to get there. I appreciate it. Big thanks to Beto and Jess and people in these groups that I'm in, these chat groups. And also Ryan from No Border Sports has been really giving freely of information and tips and like pro tips and best practices. Like some people hoard information when they get it. It's like they sort of view it as like me against everyone else. But Ryan from No Border Sports is very much just like, oh yeah, here's what I know. If it can help you, great, go for it. And it's really refreshing to see somebody be so collaborative like that and trying to help his fellow content creators.
Yeah, congrats on 400.
Oh, thanks so much. And Bryant says, Beto, my neighbor. I didn't realize, Bryant, you're out by Sac area too, then I guess. And Beto saying Niner Smash. Okay, let's see. Oh, here we go. Collie Young in the house. He was one of the first guys who had a chat group that got me going. He had Zach Hernandez from 49ers Hive in there, and Zach reached out to me to start writing articles, and that's sort of what got me started down this path before I started the channel. Collie says, I'll be in Pittsburgh too. Bosa versus Watt. Price of admission alone. Yeah, two of the best edges in the league, really. I mean, it's like Bosa, Watt, Micah Parsons, and the one from Cleveland that I always blank on his name.
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett, the helmet clubber. Got 49er Media in the house saying, hey, Ted and Jess, what's up on Shoal? Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. Everyone, make sure you check out 49er Media. I think he did some Warriors breakdowns recently, and so check that out. Collie's saying, by the way, Purdy was missing Debo for a month. He sure was. He was, but Debo himself said that he wasn't quite himself in 2022. He pretty much said, I won't say the word, but he didn't feel like he played well, and he said he'll never put tape out like that again. So he's still a loss. I'm not going to say not having Debo didn't hurt Purdy, but it's not like not having Debo in 2021 when he was 1,800 yards and 13 TDs or whatever it was. They have McNiner in the house saying, let's go. Hopefully McKivitz is a better pass blocker than McChokeslam. Oh, man. I mean, speaking of Micah Parsons, right? I mean, that divisional round, he got McGlinchey pretty airborne. That was, but I mean, to McGlinchey's credit, like it wasn't a sack. I mean, how I know is because the Cowboys didn't have a sack that whole game. I mean, I guess Purdy ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage once, which I guess counts maybe as a sack, but they didn't tackle him behind the line of scrimmage. So, then Antrel saying thanks. They're just saying hello. Central Valley. Let's go 209 area code. There we go. So Um, Still an important agree. Yeah, absolutely. I'm never going to discount Debo. He still had some huge, impactful plays. That game I mentioned where McKivitz was starting left tackle, he ran all through the Rams defense and ran specifically over Ramsey towards the end. A huge touchdown. He had a huge touchdown. I was at both games, the Rams game Monday night, week 4, and then the Seahawks game, wild card weekend. He had that huge 70-plus yard play that kind of iced things for us against the Seahawks. So still important for sure, but definitely a down year.
And I love his motivation too. Just him saying that won't, his awful season won't happen again.
Yeah, there was some question. I mean, I was doing shows, when OTA started and he wasn't there, and people are asking me, Ted, what do you think about Debo not being at OTAs? And I said, I think TBD, let's see how he shows up. But I said, all things equal, I probably trust that he's doing the right things, because if you think back to, the reason why he got the bad reputation was last year. And that was where he had to hold in to get the contract that he definitely deserved. And he couldn't really practice full go, because if he tore his Achilles or an ACL, then, that would affect his contract. It could have cost him millions of dollars. It probably would have cost him millions of dollars. And so, but in 2020, he also had some injuries, but it was from also being out of shape. But that was because he had a Jones fracture in his foot, and he suffered that when he was working out with the Footwork King, and that was before OTAs. So that says to me, hey, he's motivated. He's trying to do things even before the first optional team activities. He was doing things to stay in shape. So that's why I sort of said, if I'm betting, I'll bet the Debo comes in shape. And then he said that speech. I was like, yeah, I started to feel really good about it, because it's not about, no one's perfect. We all make mistakes. Things happen. But how do you deal with it? And do you admit that, things were bad, and then, like he did, promise to not have it happen again? Doesn't mean it won't, but it means that, he definitely is going to be doing everything he can to keep it from happening again. And it's, because sometimes when people get paid, they take their foot off the gas.
Right.
And Debo doesn't seem like that type of guy to me, but you just never know until it happens. There are surprising people where it surprises. And I think that's part of the reason why the Niners are so big on culture, is because I think they've had a really good success of paying guys and them still staying at the top of their game.
Yeah, and the next one to hopefully get paid before training camp is Nick Bosa.
Ooh, that's a big one. What do you think that number is going to look like?
I don't know. I know he's going to get what he deserves, which is a boatload of money. But as far as the number, I'm not too sure.
I've been saying 32, 33. I don't think we'll get off as easy as 30. And I hope we don't have to stretch to 35. And ultimately, we all get fixated on those average annual values. But, what the players really look at is the guaranteed dollars, the fully guaranteed money. So in case they something happened tomorrow, they still are set for life. So that'll be an interesting number to see too. But I just hope it's enough to where we can still, fill in pieces around him and still have a competitive team without having a bunch of just, $1 and $2 million players at every other position. But I think a little bit of that is natural and bound to happen. So we'll see. I think that's part of the reason why they're so big on these QBs with low contracts, right? Our whole quarterback room is only $14 million this season, which is pretty incredible when you think Jimmy G's getting 23 on his own.
That was another thing that Jed York said in the State of the Franchise, that it definitely helps that the quarterback room is, not in these words, but a little bit cheaper, so they can do their free agency spending. And then John Lynch had told the story a little bit. Ted, you got to watch this. A little bit about how they were going to Jed York to pretty much not ask, but just kind of say, hey, this is an idea that we have to go after Javon Hargrave. and Jed was like, as long as he's a difference maker, and they were like, yep, he is. And, that's when they were like, yep. And that's Javon Hargrave. So it was pretty cool. Just some little stories like that.
I'm really excited about Javon Hargrave for sure, to get Bosa another star there on the D line. So I'm going to take attention off of him. A great pass rusher, maybe not so hot against the run, but we have other guys who can play the run, like Eric Armstead, and we'll see about Kalia Davis, T.Y. McGill. I think we've got, and hopefully maybe we'll get a little more out of Javon Kinlaw this year. We'll see.
Definitely as a rotational piece for sure.
Yeah, I think that might help him to stay healthier longer. Limit his snaps, limit his usage, and hopefully maximize his efficiency. It sounds like I do definitely have to see it. And I'm excited about Javon for sure. And excited about, what it'll do for Eric Armstead, what it'll do for Bosa, Drake Jackson, everybody on that line. I think everyone on the defense. I think it'll help the linebackers and secondary to have to cover for less time and force more mistakes by our opposing offenses for sure. By QBs. Up. Speak of the devil, Ryan from No Border Sports. What up, everyone?
Hey, Ryan.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, I mean, John Lynch also said that the D line kind of lacked a little bit last year. So that's why they wanted to go after Javon Hargrave and bring him in, and and the immediate impact is just going to be awesome. Like, I'm so excited to see the defensive line, and I think it's going to flow, like the defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary. I think it's all, it's going to flow nicely. And I think Steve Wilkes is going to dial up some blitzes, and we're going to be ready to go.
Yeah, it's exciting. We've got so many people that can blitz the quarterback. Obviously, Fred and Dre are pretty effective at that. But now we've got Isaiah Oliver, who's a really good pass rusher. We just added Jair Brown in the draft, our first draft pick at number 87 overall. He's a lot like Hufanga. He's a real good pass rusher, very good ball hawk, good at PBUs and interceptions. Solid tackler. Just needs to work on his coverage skills some, but that's something that's very teachable, especially when you have somebody like Steve Wilkes, whose forte is secondary. So exciting to see all that. And I'm excited to see blitzes coming from all over the place out of our secondary and linebackers for sure. Everybody's Brian, say hi to everybody in person. That's nice. I was like, boy, what'd I miss? Okay. Collie was giving him some shout outs.
Marcelino McCrary Ball too.
There you go. Marcelino, D. Winters, Jalen Graham, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. That brings up a good point. Like, we've got so many linebackers, right? You got Fred and Dre, our 1 and 2. And then number 3, the strong side or Sam linebacker, is kind of up in the air. That was Aziz Al-Shire. Mm-hmm. I wonder if you have any thoughts if it'll be McCrary Ball or if it'll be DFF or if it'll be D. Winters or Oren Burks is another option. Our special team standout has been playing well. And then obviously Jalen Graham. We've got kind of an embarrassment of riches at linebacker. Mm-hmm. I wonder if we might trade somebody to avoid having to cut someone who might be a starter on another team.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll all boil down to McCrary Ball and D. Winters.
There you go. Interesting. Well, D. Winters is super fast out of TCU. Basically, they're saying D. Winters is a lot like a Dre Greenlaw clone as far as size and measurables, and sort of like 40-yard dash and 3-cone and all those sort of timed exercises. And then they're saying that Jalen Graham out of Purdue, our 7th round, our last pick of the draft, out in the 7th round, that he is sort of more like a Fred Warner build, a little bit taller, and also very similar measurables to Fred Warner. So It'll be interesting to see. I don't know who will win out. I'm guessing maybe Oren Burks or McCray Ball because they've got more experience. I don't think Flanagan Fowles will, just because he's been here. He seems more like a special teams guy. That might be someone we move. And I think we'll try and develop D Winters and Jalen Graham because they're young, unless they can just show out and win the spot. But also those guys are D Winters might be hard to hide on the practice squad because I think he was a 5th round pick. But Jalen Graham, almost end of the 7th, he might be more hideable on the practice squad if he doesn't show out too much in preseason and make it impossible to do that. We'll see. Bryant says, no more sports. The only funny one, real one who holds us together. Not the fire. He says, I know everyone deserves their own hello. That is nice. No doubt about it. Did we see we released Mariano Sorin? Yes. So he was a linebacker out of Minnesota, undrafted, and so we released him today. I don't think that's super surprising. I don't think, or waived, whatever. So I realized that joke. Did he wave back? I don't think that's heartbreaking or any kind of problem or anything. He's not any of the ones we were just mentioning as ones that might be tradable. So hopefully he'll catch on with another team and get a shot somewhere else. So it was a really hard squad to make linebacker. So and Collie was saying the same thing. We waited a linebacker, and Brian said the same thing. We should cut a linebacker. So earlier we were talking about the Vikings, and we were talking about Kirk Cousins, and we were talking about he may want to leave the Vikings. Do you think
Nope.
Kyle still has love in his heart for good old Kirk Cousins? Do you like me now?
I don't know. I think he likes Kirk Cousins, but I think that ship sailed. I hope it sailed.
So. That's
probably the better thing to say.
I hope it sailed and sank and lost at sea. Speaking of sailed and sank and lost at sea, we talked about Jimmy being gone, but I mean, is he really gone? He hasn't passed his physical with the Raiders, and they owe him zero money if he doesn't pass. So they could cut him, and obviously if he can't pass there, he can't pass here right away. But when he becomes available, can you see us saying no to him? No, we'd rather have Sam Darnold than Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know. It seems like I could see a way he comes back to this team again. I don't want him to. I don't want that to happen, but you know how Kyle is. I don't know. We always seem to find a way for Jimmy.
Based on their, what they said, in the off season and even last year, as far as Jimmy, I think that's run its course.
One can only hope. Again, I hope that ship has sailed, sank, and scuttled. All that, anything that can happen to a ship, so it doesn't make it back to your port. I hope that happened. I hope the Jimmy G experiment is over. I never want to see him in red and gold again. I mean, I'm happy for what he did. He helped us when we were bad. Right. He gave us credibility. I just felt like he helped us when we were bad, but then when we got good, he held us back. And then I think also once we drafted Lance, I think having a bridge QB probably wasn't a bad idea. He's so raw. He needed time to develop. But having Jimmy G as the bridge QB made it so Kyle couldn't do what he wanted, which is flopping him in and out, swapping him. And the locker room got mad because they felt like, oh, Jimmy drove us all the way down the field and Lance gets all the credit. That's not fair. And really, it should just be hey, we're winning, and who cares? Who cares? Who? Just like we said, the name on the front, not the name on the back. Get the wins and let the rest sort itself out. And so I think if we had gotten somebody like Andy Dalton, who's obviously not as good, but, also then that makes it easier to transition to Lance too if they're not as good. So I don't know. Anyway, bottom line is I wish him good luck on the Raiders, and I just hope he passes his physical and stays a Raider. But we'll see. And 49 Mina says, I heard it was with an injury settlement. So that's Sori Marin, the linebacker from Michigan who we waived, got injured, and so we paid him out. Okay, interesting. So maybe he was doing okay, and maybe would have been in the competition, but if he hadn't gotten injured, who knows? That makes it more interesting. Oh, Ryan says yes. Kyle has a thing for Kirk. It won't die. It just keeps coming back. He says, "I hate this topic." Well, then don't bring it up. Let it die. Let it die. And Callie says, "Please, no." And Anshul says, "I hope not. Don't speak it into existence." Exactly. Beto says, "Ryan, say to everyone, but me. I see how it is." LOL. Beto's better say hi to Beto. I'm blaming Ted if he comes. Oh man, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame
No.
you too, Ted.
Oh, jeez. I'm getting it from everyone here. It's brutal. Tough crowd, I tell you. Tough crowd. Let's see here. Everybody's saying hi. So even Beto says Kyle has a. Oh, yeah. Shring. He said he likes Kirk in a not so nice way. So we're gonna making nothing about content. Cousins content.
Oh
Oh
God, I
man,
hope not.
I
No
might have to
way.
retire. I might have to retire. Beto got backstabbed. Oh man, Ryan, make it better. Make it better. Um, so we talked about a lot of that stuff. I know you didn't see the video that Alex Rollins did, where he was saying that Purdy is the same QB as Jimmy G. I was telling you that I disagreed. I thought Purdy is at least a little better, and even a little better overall. Like just straight up. Plus, Purdy's cheaper and Purdy's younger, so there's a couple ways. I mean, like massively cheaper, right? I mean, Jimmy's 23 mil, and Purdy's 1 mil or less than 1 mil. So, but right around $1 million. I mean, that's like 23 or more times cheaper. So that's huge. But he did have some interesting points where he said Jimmy is a better first read QB. He's got a stronger arm, which I agree with. He's saying Purdy's better later in the play as the play breaks down, better in the deeper reads, which was clear. And that Purdy had quite a few interceptable balls that were dropped, and if those had gone a different way, we'd be looking at Purdy probably a little bit differently. And then also the big one was, a lot of Purdy stands like to say, well, Purdy scored 33 points per game and Jimmy scored 26. It's a touchdown difference, and it is. But like this, I always like say there's statistics and they can be misleading without context. And the context was that our defense forced 2.4 turnovers for Purdy and 1.2 for Jimmy. So when you're getting 1.2 more turnovers per game, that's probably a little more than 3 points worth of turnovers. And then some of the defenses that Purdy played were bad or banged up or both. So it's not necessarily apples to apples, That's why like a whole season is so important for comparison, because over the course of a season, those things tend to even out. But the smaller the sample size, the more likely there is that you could have all hard teams or all easy teams, or in this case, Purdy definitely played some tough teams, but I would say more of them were bad or banged up than were tough. And so on defense.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, there's still NFL teams, there's still NFL players.
Absolutely.
we went out there as a team and we beat them. I was laughing at that. At that.
I don't know if I can do any pull-ups right now. I know when I was training, I could do like 5 pull-ups in a row with my trainer. But since we left the city and moved to the peninsula, I haven't had a trainer. I'm doing a rowing machine, but I don't think rowing is quite the same. It's definitely not quite the same as a pull-up. And I'm awfully heavy. So as strong as I am, I have a lot of weight to lift. So I'd be surprised if I could do more than 1 or 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 0. I'll just put it that way, to be brutally honest. So if you can beat 0, Jess, you might have me. So and they're just laughing at each other. All right, as long as we're all good. So again, like I like Purdy a lot. My thing is just I feel like we may need more than he can give. And we don't really know exactly what he can get. Like I say, Lance hasn't hit his ceiling. I also say Purdy hasn't hit his ceiling. I just think Purdy's pretty close. And I think Lance is a long way from. And when people say ceiling, I think people get confused between actual ceiling, like where they are now, or where they may end up for their career, and where they like could have been if everything broke right. So like I think I have to add in potential ceiling as a qualifier for it. Like what
Why do
somebody.
you why do you, not to cut you off, but why do you think
Yeah, no,
Purdy
anytime.
is close to his ceiling?
Because I think just because I think he's limited in three major ways. I think he has a limited arm, limited height, and limited top speed, and so I think he can get better at timing with our weapons, and I think he can get better at like not bailing out back left all the time and stepping up into the pocket better, especially if we could do sort of like what the Saints did for Drew Brees, where they kind of opened up passing lanes with their offensive line the same way most teams open up running lanes for the running backs, that they open them
Hmm.
up for Breeze so he could see the targets. But I think honestly, if you're good enough, like you can almost get to where you don't need to see your targets. You just know where they are and you're just chucking it to a spot at a certain time. So yeah, I mean, I see like, people say Breeze as a comp for Purdy. I could kind of see that. So for Breeze, definitely had a stronger arm. So maybe like Breeze light, I see as Purdy's, and I think he's close to that already. Um, Whereas Lance is, taller, faster, bigger arm, all those things. But, and I think Lance is smart. They're both smart. I think Purdy's the better leader right now, but I think that can be learned. Purdy has better pocket presence, poise, footwork, accuracy. Purdy's like kind of perfect in every way other than those three limitations I mentioned. But my thought is if Lance can do some of those other things pretty well, then his height and his cannon of an arm. And the thing is, his running ability, he's not quick like Purdy. And I do think quickness is a little more important. But if you're able to run fast top speed, then you make a defender spy you. And I don't feel like defenders have to spy Purdy. I feel like he can get away from the first guy or first player quickly, but then people are chasing him down from behind. Whereas if Lance gets away from somebody, he can gash you for a big run, and that causes teams to have to spy. So like a big arm keeps the safety out of the box, and a fast runner keeps one of the guys that's in the box from being able to focus on the QB. It kind of takes two defenders out of the play. So I just feel like for those reasons, Lance could be better than Purdy. I can't say that he will, but I think when you have a high character guy, and I think he is, you have a higher chance of hitting your ceiling. If you work hard, you have the right attitude. My biggest thing with Lance, honestly, is he too nice of a guy? Does he have enough of like that killer spirit that I think you need? But yeah, there's no guarantees. I'm not saying Lance will be great. I'm just saying I want to see more of him so we can find out.
Yeah, I mean, the whole arm strength thing kind of, I don't know, people talk about that ad nauseum. And to me, it's like both these guys get the ball out in a timely fashion. So that's pretty much that's you're something else. Both guys get the ball out in a timely fashion. So that's all I need to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like, a big arm isn't everything. There's plenty of big arm guys that have
Right.
busted, and a limited arm and limited height and limited top speed isn't a deal breaker. There are, and especially any one of them, like there are, great QBs that didn't have strong arms. There are great QBs that weren't tall. There are great QBs who didn't have fast top speed. But then when you get all three, then I think it's tougher to be great. So I'm not saying Purdy can't be great. Just things would have to break, more things would have to break right for him than somebody like Lance who has more natural gifts. But both could be, neither could be. I just think that if everything does break right for both, then I see Lance at a higher level. And that's all. I mean, but when will that happen? We don't know. People like to say it'll take a year. It'll take 2 years. It'll never happen. We just don't know. But what we do know is that he's worked on his mechanics. We haven't seen him with CMC, who's a ginormous difference maker, and barely seen him with Kittle, who's another huge difference maker. And so he could be closer now than we think to Purdy. I'm not going to say he could be better. Well, he could be better because Purdy may not be himself, right? I mean, Purdy just had this arm injury, and so we don't know. He's not even cleared to play yet. We don't know when he'll be cleared to play. And then, like I said, after that ready to play. And then there's no guarantees that he'll be just exactly like he was in 2022. The longer we wait, honestly, the more chance there is for him to rehab and maybe even get that arm stronger than it was in 2020. So those are just all my thoughts on the thing. I mean, I like both. I mean, honestly, if Darnold turns out to be the best, great. I don't think that's the case. I think he's a turnover machine. I think he'll do better than he's ever done, but I don't think he'll do as well as Purdy or Lance. So,
yeah, I don't think Darnold is the answer.
No, I don't either. And it's like Larry Krueger likes to excuse Darnold for his QB losses. Like, oh, well, they're on bad teams. I'm like, okay, then you can't like crown Purdy because he has wins on, the team with the number one defense, the best weapons, a great O-line, and Kyle. Like, that's a lot. So, I mean, there's other reasons to say Purdy is great because of, his touchdown interception ratio and, 7 TDs to Kittle in 6 games. And there's so many cool things. High passer rating. There's a lot to like, but just on the QB wins versus QB losses, you can't crown just on those. Is sort of my point. QB wins, they mean something. There's a reason why Pro Football Reference keeps track of QB records, but it's just it's not everything and it's not nothing, right? I mean, it's not like, oh, it's totally a team stat. No, QB is a very important part of the team, but a great QB with no one around him. Just look at Matt Stafford. He was 0-3 in the playoffs for the Lions in 12 years. Only made it 3 times and lost every time. And then he comes to the Rams, 4-0 Super Bowl, on a super team. Like, okay, so the Rams needed Stafford, but Stafford needed the Rams. It's both.
Right.
Let's see here. Kali says, I don't think Purdy is no way close to his ceiling. It's not always about raw athleticism. Kyle wants a point guard distributor. Purdy can also throw from different angles to get a pass off. Absolutely he can. Yeah. We've seen tape of that. It's just when Mahomes does it, I think Mahomes is able to throw farther off platform. There's just a few things I saw Purdy do. There are a couple of the throws were in the Raiders game, which Purdy won. And he won when our defense wasn't playing well, so I credit Purdy for that. But he threw one. He rolled left and threw back right to Kittle, and it got intercepted deep. And he rolled left and threw back right to Jennings, and it got broken up deep. And I think both of those are touchdowns with a stronger arm QB. So, again, he won the game. He came back from behind. He did a lot of great things. So maybe I'm nitpicking or being unfair. I don't know. I mean, even
a little bit.
A little bit. Well, there was the one to Ayuk in the Seahawks game where he rolled left and stopped, and he rolled right and stopped, and he threw to Ayuk in the back of the end zone, and Ayuk dropped it. Quote unquote.
Oh, he should have had that.
He should have. But I mean, I will say that like before Purdy stopped running, if he had thrown the ball in the run, if he has a strong arm quarterback and he could kind of like go over horizontal like Mahomes does and throw it like that, then like Cody Barton doesn't recover on the play and get his hand up, because the whole thing about a hand up, it's like he didn't touch it, but if you obscure the vision, like the hand's in between the ball and your face, then when the ball comes by the hand, you only have a split second to react to it. And so if your hands aren't in the right place, it's harder to adjust in that split second. And I know wide receivers have great reflexes and reactions, but it just makes it a little bit more understandable of a drop than if he was totally wide open and Barton hadn't recovered, is I guess my point. So.
I think you're kind of nitpicking a little bit.
That's fair enough. So I said I want your honest opinions. I don't want an echo chamber. So
you'll get
tell
them.
me if you think I'm full of it, Jess. That's fine. That's I don't want yes people. I want real opinions. So he said Purdy can also throw a finesse. With Trey, everything appears to be a laser beam throw. Even the tape didn't say that, and now it sounds like he's really starting to feather things in camp. So I think we better wait and see, Kali, when you see his new mechanics, because it sounds like from what I'm hearing from camp, he was throwing some nice ones. Even Larry Krueger, who I wouldn't say he's a Lance hater, but he was definitely saying that the front office was going to trade him. I'll give Larry credit. Like he said, this is what I'm hearing from the front office. This is not what I want. Right. So I want to be clear about that. I would never call Larry a Lance hater, especially because Larry, wanted Lance to be drafted by us. But he and Grant were both saying that Lance threw some nice passes into the end zone that floated right into the receiver, and so they both confirmed that, and they're sort of could say on other side, both opposite sides of that equation. So when they're both agreeing, then I tend to believe it. Oh, we got Aaron, 49ers First Takes in the house, saying, "What's up, guys? What's up, Aaron? Miss you, buddy. Hope you're doing well, and can't wait to see you again soon." We normally do our First and Ted on Wednesdays, but Aaron's taking a little break, so when he's back, that time slot will, of course, be his. Can't wait for that, and looking forward to it. Collie says, Jess. Oh, he's put me in my place. Collie is always on me on the timeline, so I'm sure he likes having some reinforcements here live and in person. So I don't care about the OTA mechanics, show mechanics, if bolts start flying. I heard the reports. Okay, fair enough. It just seems like this offseason was a little different because he started seeing Jeff Christensen. He went to, work out with Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, right now or soon, he'll be at Tight End University with Kittle. I think those are all pretty cool things. And Kittle,
I think Tight End University is this weekend.
Cool. And Kittle was one of the big people saying that Trey Lance looks significantly better than he did last year. So I trust George. I think Eric Armstead was on another interview where he said something similar, not necessarily significantly better, but he had positive praise for Trey Lance as well too. Some of the Lance haters were poking holes in Kittle, saying, "Oh, he was kind of like shifty and his eyes were going back and forth." And like someone said, "Oh, I have like, in my psych degree that I'm working on, I can tell." My unfinished degree tells me that he was lying. And I was just like, and they're like, "Look at this other video where he's doing something like this, Jess, like he's in his living room talking to one person one-on-one in a long conversation." I'm like, you can't tell the difference between like your own living room and an presser where you're in front of all your teammates and press and coaches. It's like, it's a nerve-wracking experience to get up on a podium compared to the comfort of your own living room. You're of course going to look different, I think.
I have no words.
It can get tiring. Even today, I was like getting kind of tired of it.
That's why I like a lot of words, like keywords, I have muted.
Smart.
So some things I don't see. So, but then there's other times where I just completely make a left-hand turn on Twitter, and it's like, wow, oh my god.
Yeah, I might have to start doing that myself.
Yeah,
or just muting certain people too.
No right, I do that too. Yeah. So
yeah. Oh, no wonder you never respond to me.
You are not muted, Ted.
I was just kidding.
Damn.
Let's see here. Gotcha. Evelio says, all those layered throws Trey threw in Chicago as first completion Santa Clara over Seattle were touch passes. This narrative, as he throws nothing but bullets, is very 2021. Yeah, it's also very like Colin Kaepernick. It's like I had somebody today trying to say, when I was saying that Purdy is better, but a little closer than a lot of people want to admit to Jimmy G. And he said, well, that's like saying that Lance is the same as Cap. And I'm like, well, first of all, Lance and Cap didn't play on the same team, so it's a little different than, especially not in the same season like Purdy and Jimmy G did. It's a lot easier to compare. QB wins actually do kind of mean something when you're on the same team. They get a lot more relevant when you're playing with the same folks. You obviously don't play the exact same opponents, but starts to get a lot closer when you got the same line, the same weapons, the same coach. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people that want to compare Cap and Lance. Then there's some reasons too. They're both athletic. They're both tall. They both have big arms. But if you really watch them, there's not that many similarities, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And I'm not really one with comparisons. Everyone's their own person. Everyone does their own thing. So I know it's good for, talking points and stuff like that. But I don't know.
No doubt about it. Kali Young says tomorrow. I'm not sure what that's. I think he meant.
I think Tight End University.
Oh, China University. Cool, cool. And while we're talking about tomorrow, I should probably bring up. I've got Rob Stats Guerrera coming on tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. So it's a coffee cup edition. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. I'll probably shout it out at the end, but excited about that. Been working on him for a while, so hopefully that goes well. Jimmy Perez saying hi to Aaron. Let's see, Kali's saying, I want trade a ball. I just want to see it in camp or preseason. That's all. Yeah, same here. I mean, I'm not saying give him the job. I'm just saying give him a fair chance to win it, especially if Purdy's not ready. Then, play Lance instead of there's one place where I would still favor Lance, even if Darnold somehow won the competition, just because, I think Lance just has the higher ceiling. He doesn't have all the baggage. I just think, you've got the investment in the kid. You just cannot let Trey Lance go to another team and hit the ceiling that we all see for him. It's like Kyle will never live it down and we'll never hear the end of it. And that's like my nightmare scenario. And so I just hope that never comes to fruition. We'll see. Kali Young says consistently. Bryant says, I just want to be positive on Twitter. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Yeah, good luck with that, man. Twitter is a cesspool. You got to go in there shields up, weapons out, like ready to rumble, or else you're going to come out black and blue for sure. Got Ty Alston in the house, 10% Ty.
Hi.
He can turn your podcast into podcash. So if you guys are looking for an upgrade, hit up Ty. Like I said, he only takes 10%. So he also has some cool videos he did at the Louvre in Paris, Gay Paris, France. Very exciting. I hope you had a good trip, Ty. Welcome back. And let's see here. Kali says yes. I'm having trouble keeping up with Kali and his one-word answers, but I'm assuming he's agreeing with Jess and not me. I'll just go out on a limb. Jess comes home and immediately talk to Ted. I see how it is. Oh, there you go. Hey, well, Ty, Ty and I got to work out a time here too. I think we're trying to get going. So, but Jess was on it. She found a time that worked. So now it's up to you, Ty. No more love on Twitch leagues. We fighting. That's right. Exactly. David McNiner in the house. What's up, McNew with the pineapple fire? Everybody's taking that up. So what were some other things going? Well, also, we're well over an hour here. I usually try to wrap by 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern, as my childcare likes to leave right around then. So we should try to wrap things up a little bit here. I guess my promo for my show with Rob was appropriate. What about, so obviously you've got your regular show tomorrow on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, getting the gang all back together. First time because you were out of town for, was it a week or 2 weeks you were out of town?
For a week. Yep.
For a week. And then Friday you've got Beto at, what time is that show?
That's 8 o'clock Eastern.
8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific. Mm-hmm. Perfect. And then let me see what else I have going on.
And then next Thursday is the Ladies of the Empire.
There you go. That's always fun. So is that Tony Culp's group?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So that's Bryant's wife, Tony with an I, Toni Culp. So check her out. And then I've got Bash. We usually do our shows Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. But I'm out of town this Friday. So Bash and I are moving it up to Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And
cool.
Working on maybe another show or so, maybe Ty, maybe someone else between now and then. So I'll keep everybody posted on Twitter. But Jess, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
It was a lot of fun, as always. And man, it seems like it flew by. I guess audience participation, always makes it interesting. It's funny. You could talk about the same topics and have like radically different shows
Mm-hmm.
just by having really cool audience members. So wait, Ty says, wait, no Ladies of the Empire this week? What's up with that?
Nope, it's every other Thursday.
There we go. And then Kali saying, great show, guys. Ted, Jess, you killed it. He's really saying Jess, but that's fine. I know what you mean, Kali. It's fine. But we appreciate you being here, Kali, and everyone else. Bryant, Aaron, Jimmy, Emiliano, Kali, we said Kali, Beto, Ryan from No Border Sports, Jason from Jason Smash Massey, Anshul, 49ers Media, Bryant Culp. If I missed anybody, my apologies, David McNiner. And thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I'll just say peace and go Niners.